Young people, the next topic of conversation that we'll be talking about is complementary angles and supplementary angles. Now, I cannot tell you if it's Friday or not, but right now, plan for it. Test Friday. But it may not be Friday. Depends on how things develop. But on that paper or on your, I keep saying paper, but it's on your Chromebook, it says complementary angles. Y'all see that? Two angles, the sum of whose measure is 90. Two angles, the sum of whose measure is 90. Two angles, the sum of whose measure is 90. Now, Drew, the quarterback's always first. You ready? Running backs, linebackers are next. No. I try.
You ready?
I want you to state complementary definition. Now think about what I'm saying. Two angles, not three or four, two angles. The sum of whose measure is 90. Can you state it? We'll go basketball with it. Can you state it? Yep. Start over.
Two angles of the sum.
Nope. Two angles.
Two angles.
The sum of whose measure is 90.
The two angles of sum.
No. Two angles.
The sum. Two angles. The sum of whose measure is 90.
Now you've had an opportunity here over here now. Mickey, you ready? Try it.
Two angles. The sum of whose measure is 90.
Drew, the quarterback ready? You done warmed up? What about the running linebacker need Rustin? I'm ready to the receiver if you catch it.
Two angles.
The sum.
Of whose measure is 90.
Jacob, give me a lineman.
The angles, two angles, the sum of measures,
Whose measure?
whose measures is 90.
Ben?
Two angles. The sum of whose measure is 90.
All right, Lawson, run out there and catch it.
Two angles.
Intercept it for me.
Two angles. The sum of whose measure is 90.
Jerry Malone.
Two angles, the sum of the measures
Whose measure
equals 90.
is 90?
Is 90.
Esau, I would not want to leave you out of the picture here.
Two angles, the sum of whose measure is 90.
Camille? Ready? Yeah.
Two angles. The sum of whose measure is 90.
Drew, we got to hurry up and get it done.
Two angles, the sum of which measures
Whose measure?
whose measure is 90.
Gabe?
Two angles, the sum of whose measure is 90.
Scott, did you say it already or did I miss you?
Two angles, the sum of whose measure is 90.
I hate to leave you out, Sarah.
Two angles.
The
The
sum.
sum of measures.
Whose measure? Next. It does say each angle is the complement of the other. Now, that's not going to be part of your paper tomorrow. Tomorrow when you walk in the door, you're going to write complementary angles. Two angles, the sum of whose measure is what? 90. But each angle of this complement of the other is not part of it. That's just something I want you to know. Okay, supplementary angles. Two angles, the sum of whose measure is 180. Supplementary is 180, complementary is 90. So what is the second one? Whose measure? So you got only what difference between the two is that one of them is 90 and one of them is what? Now, young people, I look at the fact that supplementary starts with an S. Well, I just close it up like that and it looks like an 8. Now it's not, supplementary does not equal 8, but equals 180, but it's got an 80. And I think a complementary starts with a C. Well, just bring it straight down and you got a what? 9. So the C is for 90 and the S is for what? 180. Not 80 now, 180. Now it does say also that each angle is a supplement of the other. Okay, so there's supplementary angles or supplements of each other. Now remember those words as we progress. Now, complementary angles and supplementary angles can be adjacent or non-adjacent. What I mean by that is, say they're complementary. So I told Rustin, go on that back of that board, draw me an angle. He draws an angle of 52 degrees. I come up here and I draw an angle of 38 degrees. Now his is back there on that board and mine is up on this board. Now, well, they add up to be how much? So his and mine are complements of each other, or they're called complementary angles. They don't have to be on the same board, but majority of the time they are what? On the same page. Now it says this also, perpendicular lines meet to form right angles. You got a question?
You know that your video.
Now, perpendicular lines meet to form right angles. That's going to mean something more down the road, but right now, if perpendicular lines are two lines that meet to form right angles. Now, what's the measure of a right angle? 90 degrees. Now, read on, or look on. If two adjacent angles have their exterior sides in perpendicular lines, then they are complementary. If two adjacent, they have to have a common side, common vertex, and no interior points in common. Now, if two adjacent angles have their exterior sides in perpendicular lines, then they are complementary. Now, what does it mean to call two angles complementary? Thus, two angles, the sum of whose measure is what? 90. So that's where you see the measure angle 3 plus the measure angle 4 equals 90. Read on. Postulate 12. Now, you're not going to be responsible for postulate 12 tomorrow. Pretty much you've already said it. But if two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. Now, people, the rest of this paper has one objective, is to bring out what complementary angles are and what supplementary angles. Now, these are the easy 10. So let's be sure we get all of these taken care of. Number 1. If angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary angles, find x, and then find the measure of each angle. So, let's try it. Measure of angle 1 is 7x minus 14. Measure of angle 2, 10x plus 2. Now, they're complementary angles. So what you're going to write first is what the complementary means. Two angles, the sum of whose measure is. So you write the measure angle 1 plus the measure angle 2 equals 90. Now, I'm going to tell you something. What I want to see on your paper is what I'm fixing to show you. I'd like to see all your work in a particular order, just like I'm fixing to show you on this board. I don't want it scattered out on the other papers where I have to dig and look and find it. There's to show your work, yes?
No, complementary is 90.
They're complementary. What's to be 180? Number 1? Alright. Now, let's go. Measure angle 1 is 7x minus 14 plus measure angle 2, 10x plus 2. Now equals 90. Now young people, I'm going to continue to say this. Put the water bottle in. I'm going to continue to say this. Now, a lot of you did good this time around, but I'm going to continue to show you. I like you to box this in. Box in that left-hand side, and then you're not trying to eliminate anything in it. You're trying to tell me the total in it. Don't try to get rid of anything out of this box. Put it together. So what is 7x plus 10x? 17x's. Now, in there, like the number line, you at negative 14 and you write back up 2 or go 2. So that's negative 12 equals 90. Now, here's what you got to realize. I want to isolate the x. I don't want anything with that x. I want this number to go. Now, young people, I know somewhere in your past they taught you the sign rules of numbers. Now, so here's what we got. Minus 12. Now, what would you add to negative 12 till the answer is 0? What would you put with negative 12 to make the answer 0? 12. So if you add 12 to a negative 12, the answer is 0. But now, I don't like you to put the 0. Not, I mean, personally, that's me. But I'd prefer you did not do that. I'd rather you just put a plus 12 and cancel it out. Okay? So now you got 17x's equals 102. Now, again, we still got to get the letter x by itself. I don't want any number with that x. Y'all see that? I don't want anything tied in with that x. I need that 17 to go. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So x equals, well, whatever the answer of 102 divided by 17. Y'all get 6 as well?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so 6 is x. Now come back up here and tell me what measure of each one of these is. So what's the measure angle 1? That's 7 times 6. Take away 14. Of course, that's 42. Take away 14. Let's go with 28. Y'all get that, or am I wrong? So then you have 10 times 6 plus 2, that's 60, plus 2, which is what? 62. Now you'll see how I got that put on the board. That's showing your work, and that's how I like to see it on your test. So I can see where if you made a mistake, but also it does this, it brings along discipline. You do it just like this. Later on in the year, when things get a little bit more of a challenge, you'll have a set pattern how to complete your answers. Okay, that's number 1. Now, Derek,
Sir.
you know my arm is giving out.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to try number 2?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Put your arrow up there. You didn't bring it, so use mine.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, would you please put up there the measure angle 1, what it is, and measure angle 2, and measure angle 1? What it equals after that angle, yeah. Measure angle 2. Now, what kind of angles do they call these? Complementary.
Oh, I'm on the wrong problem.
Well, then in that case, let's race and get on the correct problem.
I'm on supplementary angles.
Okay.
There we go.
Now, they're complementary angles. So what are you going to write up there first? Is measure angle 1? There you go. Now, what are you going to put there for measure angle 1? What are you going to put for measure angle 2? Yeah? Now, would you mind if I ask you to box that in? I realize you don't have to, but for right now, thank you for doing it. So how many x's do we have? 8 x's. Now remember, you're at negative 2 and you back up 12. So far are you now?
14.
Yeah. All right, so then what do we do? Add 14 to 90. All right. All right. So then x equals 13, they're saying.
Oh, no. Jacob.
39, isn't it?
37.
That total is 37. That's 39 minus 2.
Oh, I thought you meant the whole bottom of that here.
Oh, you go ahead and put the old answer out there, 37. All right, now let's go to the other one. 5 times 13. All right, tell him. 53. Now, people, that's complementary angles. What are complementary angles? 2 angles, the sum of whose measure is 90. Tomorrow when you walk in that door, I'm going to say get out one sheet of paper, and what are you going to write on there for one of the things? All right, let's go down to number 3. Now, number 3 says these are supplementary angles. So this is measure angle 3 is 5y plus 3. Measure angle 4 is equal to 6y minus 10. They're supplementary. What's the definition of supplementary angles? 2 angles, the sum of whose measure is 180. So the measure angle 3 is 5y plus 3, 6y minus 10 equals 180. Now again, I'd like you to box in all of this. Now we're not trying to eliminate anything, we're trying to confine it. Tell me how many y's are inside of it. That's 11 y's. So now you have 3 on the number line and you're backing up 10. That's negative 7 where you are located. Now here we go again. I'm going to do it again. You're trying to get y by itself. You don't want any numbers tied in with it. Y'all see that? So, again, somewhere in your past, your teachers told you or expressed to you, what would you put with what would you add to a -7 to get 0? 7. Now, so you'd put +7, +7, then you get 11y's equal to 187. Now again, I want the letter y alone. I don't want any number tied in there with it. So what's the opposite of saying 11y, or 11 times y is divide by 11. All right. So y is
17.
17?
Yes, sir.
So y is 17. So that's 5 times 17 plus 3. That would be 85 plus 3 would be 88. 6 times 17, take away 10. That's 102. Take away 10. How much is that nowadays? 92. All right, that's number 3. I'm going to leave number 4 for your taking. Let's go to number 5. Okay? So I'm going to do number 5 next. Number 5 says an angle has a measure of 6x minus 12. And its complement has a measure of 9x plus 1. What is the measure of each angle? So the first thing I like for you to put on your paper is to organize it. This is showing your word. Angle is 6x minus 16. Now, the complement (9x plus 1). Complements 9x plus 1. Now, if they're complement angles, then what about their measures?
90.
So the measure of each angle is 90. So you'd have 6x minus 16, 9x plus 1 equals to what? 90. Again, box them in. I'm not trying to eliminate any of them. I'm trying to tell me how many's total in there. What's the total number of letters, or how many x's? 15 x's. 6x and 9x is 15 x's. Now you have -6 on the number line, and you go plus 1 back. Well, that's -15. All right, here we go. I want that x. By itself. No numbers added to it or subtracted from it. So if you had a -15, what would you add to -15 to get nothing? 15. So add 15 to both sides. So you get 15 x's equals 105. Now, again, still want the x by itself. So now we're getting rid of the 15 by division. So x 7. So we got 6 times 7. 42, take away 16, 26, then 9 times 7, 63 plus 1. Hey, does 26 and 64, does that add up to give you 90? Sure does. Now, young people, I'd like to jump down to the last problem, number 10. Okay, last problem, number 10. Two angles. Angle 7 and angle 8 are adjacent angles. They have a common vertex and they have a common side, but no points common inside. But I want you to see that they're in perpendicular lines. So I'm going to borrow this straight edge and I'm going to draw two lines, and you'll notice that one of them was 90 and the other one was 0. So these two lines are perpendicular. And when they meet to form a right angle. Now what is the measure of that right angle? 90. Now, I'm going to take this straight edge again and that's the brick, isn't it? Alright, now I don't want you to see that number, because that is not what I'm trying to draw, a particular measure. I'm not trying to draw a certain measure. I'm just trying to draw a line. Now, young people, that makes two angles. Angle 1 and angle 2. Now, they have their non-adjacent sides in a perpendicular lines. You see? And the blue line is the common to both this angle and this angle. The blue line is. The red lines are their non-common side, and they're in perpendicular lines. Y'all get the idea behind this? Now, so what we need to understand at the top, it says, if two adjacent angles have their exterior sides in perpendicular lines, then they are complementary. Which means what? Measure angle 1 plus the measure angle 2 is equal to what? 90. Alright, back that up just a little bit and give it a room. So in your particular problem, it says, now they're not 1 and 2, they're what? So let's change them to 7 and 8. So this is not 1 and 2, but 7 and 8. Y'all catch that change? Because they're in on the paper. All right. So the measure of angle 7 is 2x plus 3. And the other one is 7x minus what? 30. So you take 2x plus 3, 7x minus 30 equals 90. Now again, you know what I'm fixing to do, don't you? I'm going to box it in again. And I'm going to ask you not to get rid of anything. Just tell me how I got in there. So I got 2x's and 7x. That's a total of 9x's, right? Now, you had plus 3 and you back up 30. So where are you going to be? Negative 27. All right, again. What do we want to accomplish? Is to get that x along. Now, people, again, I've asked you this 3 times. I'm going to ask you one more time. What would you add to a negative 27 to get 0? 27. All right. So then you got 9x's equals 117. Again, the x is not by itself yet, so we're going to divide by what? 9, and now x is 13. So let's go back up here. So that's 2 times 13 plus 3. That's 26 plus 3. What is that? 29. And this one is 7 times 13. That's 91. Take away 30. You get 61? But now, just for curiosity's sake, what's 29 and 61? Very good.